Let me first begin by welcoming senior advocate Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, who today appeared for the complainant, Mr. Purnesh Modi, in the Supreme Court. Mr. Jethmalani, thank you so much for joining us. Now, looking at the judgment now, would you call this a huge setback, in fact, to the winning streak, with the complainant winning this so far in all the lower courts?
No, I have. You mean Purnesh Modi has? Yeah. The defamation case, which has been, I had nothing to do with the lower court proceedings. I came for the first time to the Supreme Court. But yeah, I mean, it's not a big setback, because the court has basically kept all issues open, and the matter has been expedited. It's before the Sessions Court. So I think it's a very good case for conviction. On the question of sentence, the lawyers for the complainant will have to bring better grounds to get a 2-year sentence. But it's certainly a case for conviction and a jail sentence.
Okay, so technically this does mean an automatic reinstatement of Rahul Gandhi in the Lok Sabha, as the notification by the House Secretariat ceases to be in effect after this conviction has been stayed, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no application of mine now. He was disqualified because of a conviction of 2 years. Once that is stayed, right, his disqualification ceases and he gets his MP status back. It's as simple as that. So, I don't think anybody should have any two doubts about it and, start delaying matters, etc. It doesn't look good. So, if the law entails that he should get it, he should certainly get back to Parliament, now that his conviction has been stayed. Mind you, the conviction in law doesn't mean that he's not a convict, but it does mean that the consequences of his conviction are postponed to a future date, when the appeal court decides whether his appeal is to be dismissed and his sentence is to be upheld.
Because why I asked you this, Mr. Jethmalani, is also because the Election Commission of India had not yet notified the by-election for the Wayanad seat that was vacated due to Rahul Gandhi's conviction. So, had it not been an auto reinstatement, he would have to contest for that seat now.
Yeah, yes, so now he is eligible to stand for the Wayanad seat.
Absolutely. Now, you said that the entire speech of Rahul Gandhi spanned more than 50 minutes, and there is a plethora of evidence and clipping of the speech attached in the Election Commission of India's record, and that Rahul Gandhi has defamed an entire class out of malice. But that didn't seem to cut much ice with the Supreme Court.
Well, because the Supreme Court has gone on only one ground. They didn't touch the facts which pertain to conviction. Please understand that. This was not a case where anything had to be done about conviction.
Yes,
right?
yes.
We had an overwhelming case on conviction. So the question was really on staying of the sentence. Please understand, an order of conviction and order of sentence are two distinct things.
Now, when we talk about the sentence, and that's exactly was the crucial point that the Supreme Court harped upon, and that's why the stay on conviction, it did say that it wanted to know as to why this maximum sentence over a defamation case was given to Rahul Gandhi. And had that not been the case, the Representation of People's Act wouldn't have really come into play. Had it been just a day lesser as far as the sentence is concerned. Should this not also be read as an insinuation that this was deliberately done to get him out of the Parliament?
No, I don't think there's any insinuation on that. I mean, I can't say that there's any insinuation in that. What they meant was that, listen, you decided 2 years. Please give us two reasons as to why you chose the period of 2 years. Right? And if there were strong enough grounds for 2 years, he would have, the conviction would not have been stayed by the Supreme Court.
Right. Now, Rahul Gandhi's counsel, of course, Mr. Manu Singh, had called this entire conviction something that wasn't, in fact, the entire episode that wasn't against the society. It wasn't rape or murder or kidnapping after all. So how can this become an offence involving moral turpitude? How do you respond to that, sir?
Rahul Gandhi's counsel will obviously have other, he is Rahul Gandhi's lawyer, right? I'm saying it from my point of view as the complainant's lawyer.
Yes.
And at least on conviction, right? At the moment that Rahul Gandhi stands convicted. His conviction has been stayed, but he's still a convict. He's a convict whose conviction has been stayed pending appeal.
All right, Mr. Jethmalani, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. And with that, let me take this across to my guests who join us this evening. Guru Prakash Paswan of the Bharatiya Janata Party is with us. Ms. Sujata Paul of the Congress is with us. Also with us is Mohammad Amin, who's the former Joint Director, Election Commission of India. And last but not the least, Sumit Chandra, who's an advocate, is also with us. Sujata Paul, it's a good day for the Congress Party. What do you have to say about Rahul Gandhi's reinstatement in the parliament? He will be back to the parliament this Monday and is going to be part of the monsoon session.
Satyamev Jayate. Truth alone triumphs. And the judiciary, the judicial processes is what Rahul Gandhi has followed because he believes in the processes. You saw that he did not jump any step. He went step by step. He was attacked for it. Our lawyers were attacked for it. But we believe in the systems of our country because it is the Congress Party. After freedom, we ensure that we had strong processes. And Rahul Gandhi, by going through every single process without fear, with courage, has proved to the world that he believes in the
Absolutely.
Ultimately, the truth wins. And that is a win not just for Rahul Gandhi, but for the people of India also. Because when a leader of the stature of Rahul Gandhi follows the processes, he sets an example as well. So it has been exemplary. And I'm so proud of my leader. And I'm so happy that his voice is going to resound in Parliament because his voice is the voice of voice of the people of Manipur, for the people of Nuh, for the people of Purola, Uttarakhand, for the daughters of India, for our wrestler daughters, and for every other issue which plagues the country today. And that is the voice that needs to speak up today for the people so that people have faith in our country.
Mr. Paswan, let me come to you. I'm really intrigued or knowing and interested in knowing what does the BJP really have to say about the fact that Rahul Gandhi now is going to be returning to the parliament, that conviction has been stayed by the apex court, something that has not been granted to him in the lower courts, but that stay was very much needed because his political future really depended on that. What does the BJP really now have to say about it?
A very warm good evening to you and all my fellow panelists. I was just going through the observations of the Honorable Supreme Court, and Justice Gavai has made a very categorical statement. He has said no doubt that utterance not is in good taste. Person in public life expected to exercise caution while making public speeches. So I think it's a cautionary note to Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who unfortunately has become a habitual offender. We remember sufficiently that prior to the 2019 election, Chaukidar Chor hai, he had to apologize to the Supreme Court of India. We have to understand the question of broader mindset of the Congress Party here. Congress Party structurally, Congress Party institutionally, Congress Party systematically is anti-backward, anti-Dalit, anti-tribal. Congress Party is basically an extension of a feudal family-based organization. Mr. Rahul Gandhi insulting the entire OBC community, Sare Modi, XYZ. Look at the audacity of Mr. Modi, and under this patronage, under this umbrella, the other leadership of the Congress Party, Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. We remember what he said about the Honorable President of India. For the first time in the history of our country, we had a woman, an Adivasi woman, reaching the highest constitutional office in the country. And we still remember the way she was insulted by the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha. For that, he had to apologize. The point which we must understand, that the real mindset of the Congress Party, the real DNA of the Congress Party, the real structures of power in the Congress Party is feudal in nature. And through this judgment, we have seen, I also saw some of the other shows that they were questioning the judgment of the civil court, they're questioning the judgment of the session court. How were they able to give this punishment? We have to understand that everyone is equal in the eyes of law. You might be the so-called member of the first family of the Congress Party, but you are equal in the eyes of law, and you have no right, whosoever you are, you have no right to insult and embarrass the thousands of people from marginalized section, from backward section. This mindset must not be celebrated, must be punished.
Okay, Sujata wants to quick rebuttal from Sujata, then I will go to Mohammed Amin. Yes.
The BJP is so flustered and rattled that they don't respect the judicial process. We have gone through every judicial process, and it is our right to question a judgment in the court of law. And if we are saying the same things outside, then we are being democratic and sharing with the public what our stand is going to be. But like you said, when he quoted from the observations made, no doubt does not mean definitely. He says, yes, no doubt. But you called him a habitual offender. I don't think that has been taken in good stead by the Honorable Supreme Court also.
Chaukidar chor hai. Mr. Rahul Gandhi said Chaukidar chor hai. Are you not embarrassed because of that?
Mr. Paswan, let him make a point.
Mr.
Paswan,
are you not embarrassed by that?
Supreme Court is what
he is a habitual offender.
and you are being audacious because you are anti-Dalit, you are anti-backward. When you say
arrogance, this is the extension of the
Paswan,
student mindset.
Mr. Paswan, can I come here? Can I come in here?
You said Chaukidar chor hai.
No, 1 second. Can I come in here? The Supreme Court, you were talking about the observations that have come in from the Supreme Court. Mr. Mahesh Jethmanani, who we had on the broadcast just a short while back, he has also mentioned in the court that this was a 50-minute speech that has been recorded. It is under the ECI's record and all of that can be referred to. The Supreme Court to that has said how many politicians can really remember what they say in 10 to 15 gatherings. That also was an observation that was made by the Supreme Court today. So just falling back on that argument that you're making, in that case there are numerous examples in the Bharatiya Janata Party where they say something which is absolutely defamatory to let's say a family or a political party or a person or an individual. In this case, Rahul's case really extended, had to go to the apex court. The other aspect was also that he didn't apologize. There have been defamation case in the past also. Mr. Paswan.
No, yeah, I'm very happy that you pointed it out, but we have to understand that, give me one instance by any Bharatiya Janata Party leader where they have insulted the entire community. Sare Modi chor hain. Who said it? Sare Chaukidar chor hain. Who said it? When we absolutely
I don't
know
think
that
we can
Indian
be nitpicking on an argument because we do know, Mr. Paswan, that the conviction is not being rendered non-existence. There is just a stay on conviction. That is an important aspect that we are looking at. The case still stays. It's pending an appeal. Let me actually first bring in Mohammed Amin. I will come back to you, Mr. Paswan. Mohammed Amin, you have been associated with the Election Commission of India. When it is about, I will come back to you, Mr. Paswan. Let me actually bring in a member of the Election Commission of India who has been associated, who knows the tricks of the trade. Mr. Mohammed Amin, I'd like to understand this one aspect. When it is about discussion and discourse, especially in an election year or during an election rally, how much of the merit is given to the discourse of a political leader? And how much you have seen in the tenure that you have been associated with the ACI, them following it?
Actually, at the time of the election, when election is going on, at that time, before that election, we have the meeting with the model of code conduct with the all party leaders.
Yes.
And there is no such law, only we can go for FIR only, and we cannot prosecute them directly. In fact, and this is not the first case of Rahul Gandhi, this is the second case of this parliament. First case was you can remember, the Muhammad Faisal from Lakshadweep. Yes. He was convicted in the murder case. Attempt to murder case from Lakshadweep, and that case was again given by the Supreme Court, and he is stayed and again back to the house. So I think the second case of the Rahul Gandhi. So Rahul Gandhi again given the relief, but I am sure that this case has go to again with the applications, and this member parliament Mr. Rahul Gandhi can give the representation to the speaker to the Lok Sabha, and then the speaker of Lok Sabha they can see and how much time is take. There is a
but I wanted to understand this one aspect, the earlier point that you were making, Mohammed Amin, that yes. How many of those repeat offenders yes. do you see every election, despite that meeting, despite the model code of conduct, the MCC in play? How many offenders do you really see going about still and making certain statements while there is an election year in the country? Do we not have had enough examples in various political parties and senior political leaders making speeches that can be borderline defamatory?
Actually, in the when we have the meeting in the ECI about the leaders and about the election and coming the elections model code of conduct. So at that time they are going to assure it. But nowadays I am going to tell you, and you are happy to know about that. This time we election commission has last few years they have started the especially form to fill up before the model code of conduct, so they can take the action also on that on behalf of the farm. If they are getting the declaration, I cannot do it anything wrong with the others. So there is no need now. So everything is going to white, black and white now.
Okay, Mr. Sumit Chandar, you know, it's an
And
important verdict that's come out of the Supreme Court.
Commission is giving
yes,
the instructions.
Mr. Amin, right. I will come back to you. Mr. Chandar, it's an important verdict that's come out of the Supreme Court, something that you know, Rahul Gandhi's hopes were lashed upon. The observations that Mr. Paswan was just about making that had come in from the court, even while granting that stay to Rahul Gandhi, what do you make of the observations?
See, Griha, the observations are very clear. I think Supreme Court has clearly stated that the trial court judge was expected to give the reasons for imposing the maximum punishment for a non-cognizable offence. There is a doctrine called the doctrine of stare decisis.
Yes.
This doctrine of stare decisis makes it very clear, and it's a very applicable maxim, legal maxim in our profession in law, where it says that the courts are bound to provide reasons for their decisions to ensure transparency and consistency in the application of law. If the detailed decision is not given, and especially when it comes to when you are imposing the maximum punishment available, it has to be detailed as to why the maximum. Like Supreme Court again observed that even if it would have been one day less, the effect would have been very different.
Yes.
So those aspects need to be considered. Supreme Court has already considered, and that is why the Supreme Court has passed the decision today to grant stay. So these are the things which needs to be taken care of, and now when the matter is being heard, these will be going into details of these aspects now.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Paswan, coming back to the earlier point that you were making, although you completely, you know, stayed away from answering my question that I asked you in the first place, now is the time for the return of Rahul Gandhi to the parliament. He would also, interestingly, be a part of the session when the no confidence motion against your government is going to be discussed. What is the plan of action for the BJP in that case?
No, you must understand that no one else but we were waiting for the arrival of Mr. Rahul Gandhi in the Parliament House. Obviously, it generates some good content for us and the users of the social media. But we have to understand that, and when you said that I did not answer your question, we have to understand the entire concept behind the Supreme Court judgment. Historically, the Congress party, if you look at the list of leaders, the leaders from the marginalized communities, how and who has given them this right to insult them? Congress insulted Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Congress insulted Babu Jagjeevan Ram, Congress insulted Sitaram Kesri, Congress insulted President Draupadi Murmu, Rahul Gandhi insulted Chaukidars, Rahul Gandhi insulted all the Modis. Who has given them this right? What is the audacity of the Congress party to say all this statement for the marginalized and the disadvantaged section of the community? So we have to understand that when we are analyzing the judgment, when we are discussing the judgment, this exposes the mindset of the Congress party, which is entirely feudal. For your question, ma'am, I have to make this very clear that we are welcoming Mr. Rahul Gandhi. But as the Congress spokesperson was saying that he is the voice of the people, he was the voice of Amethi as well. What happened in Amethi? He is no longer the voice of Amethi. He had to go to Wayanad to become the voice of Wayanad. So we have to understand that everyone is equal in the eyes of law. The Constitution of India empowers 1.4 billion people of India.
All right. So Jada wants to come in here. So Jada, while you're making that point, while you're making that point,
I think it was. I think that was my opportunity.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Complete your point, Mr.
So
Paswan.
the Constitution of India. The Constitution of India empowers 1.4 billion of people of India. Everyone is equal in the eyes of law. You cannot be selective in the criticism of institution. When it suits you, you criticize the judiciary. When it suits you, you question the integrity of Election Commission of India. When it suits you, you question the integrity of the organizations like Enforcement Direct and CBI. This is no longer going to work. The Congress party must reconcile with the new reality. This is the new India where the power is actually to the people who are marginalized, disadvantaged, who did not see power in your 75 years of government.
I heard
Mr. Paswan, while you make all of those points, and all of those points are justified, but you are missing that one crucial aspect, that there is a stay on Rahul Gandhi's conviction, and the question that was presented in the apex court, the foremost court of the country, is that why grant him the maximum sentence under the defamation case that can be granted. And that's why the Representation of People's Act has come in. And that's why the disqualification has happened of Rahul Gandhi, which has been unprecedented, and hence that stay. That point has been clearly done away with, unfortunately, by the BJP and you, who's a spokesperson today. And the other aspect that needs to be looked at here is, because the case was being pursued in Gujarat, there were enough implications that were being made, and there were enough conjectures that were being made that this was deliberately done so that it was actually moving in so that the conviction of 2 years be granted, and hence the disqualification is attracted.
Ma'am, if you give me 10 seconds,
Sure.
and I think you are a senior journalist, you understand that there is separation of power in the Constitution of India. There is judiciary, there is legislature, and there is executive. The judiciary is free and independent. And by your question, are you suggesting that the judiciary was getting affected in Gujarat? Absolutely not. And I think we must not raise question mark on the integrity and the credibility of institution. This is the textbook example of Congress party. Only when it suits the Congress party, when the judgment is in their favor, the Supreme Court is right. When the judgment goes against them, the Supreme Court is wrong. That is, this practice is absolutely abominable, and this should not be tolerated at any cost. You lose an election, you raise question mark on the integrity of Election Commission of India. Who has given you this right? The Congress party might have the first family, but the country doesn't have any first family. The country doesn't have any first citizen. You must understand that everyone is equal in the eyes of law, and please don't raise question marks. Please don't raise question mark on the integrity of the institutions of the country.
Nobody is raising question marks on the court in this case, if that is what you are insinuating, Mr. Paswan. Because what I am asking you was a question that was asked by the Supreme Court today. Something that has been reiterated by Mr. Chandar, who is also on the panel. The Supreme Court did make it a point to ask that why was the trial court not coming up with any sort of a reason for granting that maximum sentence, and that cannot be kept away from the viewer's discretion also to understand that aspect. That's an important aspect, and that's why that stay. Sujata Paul wants to come in. I'll come back to you, Mr.
Yes.
Paswan.
And I expect my co-panelists to keep, to allow me to speak. Now, he has been using the word habitual offender, which is not something that has been accepted by the Honorable Supreme Court even today in its observations. So, 13 cases and no conviction. How is he a habitual offender? 2 years is the maximum sentence, like we've all been discussing. And after, even if there is a conviction, should there not be a separate hearing for sentencing? There was none, and that has been questioned by the Honorable Supreme Court. But the BJP spokesperson is not going to answer that. If the sentencing had been for 1 year, 11 months, 29 days, the provisions of the Representation of People's Act wouldn't have come into force, and this disqualification could never have happened. Now, the Honorable Judge of the lower court called this moral turpitude on the basis of what? On the basis of it being a non-cognizable offence, on the fact that simple imprisonment punishment can happen in the case of 22 such offences, and this is one such of it, and the maximum punishment is granted to Rahul Gandhi only to ensure that he is disqualified. In these cases, you have to make sure that a warrant is issued because it is the punishment itself is simple imprisonment. But you wanted to keep him out because he was asking very pertinent questions. But aren't they anti-Dalit and anti-backward when they say that Nirav Modi and all the other people who have been named by Rahul Gandhi, they come from backward classes? No, Lalit Modi comes from a very affluent class and an upper class, even according to the caste system. So that means Nirav Modi. Now, when you talk about all these people looted the country and you're equating them with Dalits. What kind of logic is that? Now, how is it that all the 13 cases were filed by BJP workers? And in the case of Purnesh Modi, where he went to the High Court and got a stay in his own matter, saying that I need to collect some more information. Where is that information? Which information did he get? The information he got was a person by the name of Mr. Ganesh Vijay, who came and said that, okay, after 1 year, 9 months, that yeah, I was standing there and I heard that speech. So these are the kind of things that you've done. And of course, Wayanad is suffering because of you. And in a democracy, the argument is so futile and so frivolous when Mr. Paswan says that what happened to the voice of Wayanad, voice of Amethi. Well, let me tell you, he is the voice of this country, and in a democracy, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. If people of the stature of Atal Bihari Vajpayee have lost elections, you will question how he has lost an election. That is the most frivolous argument that can be given by the
My cue is the democracy aspect of it that Sujata has mentioned in that part that she's talking about. Let's talk about the seat of democracy. Rahul Gandhi returns to the parliament. There is an impending discussion on the no confidence motion. Mr. Paswan and Sujata Paul, what are you expecting that happens now with his presence, and also the Manipur question that's still, out in the open? Do you think there is going to be ample deliberation and managing that the Prime Minister gets to the floor of the House and does speak about the issue?
Last time round, when he was asking questions of Adani, we know this disqualification process was set into motion and they were successful. But now they know that they cannot do that, because Rahul Gandhi ji was the only leader who actually went to Manipur in the midst of all this and spoke to the people and brought Manipur into the limelight. Because the people of Manipur want the mainland to talk about them, to hear them, to lend a healing hand. The first healing hand was lent by Rahul Gandhi, and I'm sure Parliament is the country's Parliament. No matter how much the BJP wants to run away, I think
so all
that
the more reasons that there is going to be discussions in the House, and it is not going to be a washout session like it has been for the last 10 days.
No, not at all. It shouldn't be, because once Rahul Gandhi comes in there, I think after the Supreme Court's order, if the BJP really respects the Honorable Supreme Court, they will ensure that discussions happen, the no confidence motion discussion happens properly, and Rahul Gandhi's voice is going to echo the sentiments of the people of
Mr.
not
Paswan,
just Manipur,
no, on
but
the no
entire
confidence
country.
motion, we do understand that the numbers are well stacked in favor of the BJP, the NDA alliance. And yet, there is an addition of Rahul Gandhi who is also going to be a part of that discussion. And repeating that question, is the BJP all braced up for those, questions that will now be coming in this point that Sujata was making, considering he's one of the tall leaders who has been to Manipur and he is going to be presenting all of those aspects in the House?
No, we have to understand a couple of things first. So, I was patiently listening to my panelists from the Congress party, and thank you for actually giving her an opportunity to saying that the mainland must speak about Manipur. Manipur is mainland, ma'am. Manipur and each and every state of Northeast is mainland.
You're not making it the mainland.
I think
you
it's
are
my
dividing Manipur.
I think it's my turn.
Please,
better give her a chance.
Sujata, please let him make
it's my turn.
Yeah, please. Mr. Paswan, go ahead. Quickly, 10 seconds. I don't have time.
नहीं देखिए प्लीज बौखलाइए मत अपनी बौखलाहट अपने पास रखिए.
Please make your point.
When you were speaking, no one else was speaking.
Mr.
Manipur is mainland. Manipur is mainland. Northeast is mainland. Every single state of the Northeast is mainland. And please get over this colonial mindset, madam. Please get over your. We remember in UPA, Prime Minister Manohar Singh used to come to Rajya Sabha from Assam. How many times did he visit Northeast? In 2011, 123 days Manipur was burning. No one was there to ask questions.
Is there going to be a discussion on Manipur or not? Or again, it's going to be a din on 176 and 267? Paswan, Mr. Paswan.
Neha,
go ahead.
Neha, you have given her sufficient time.
Neha,
you have given her sufficient time. You are constantly objecting when. No, listen to me. You are
Mr.
constantly
Paswan,
objecting.
I only have 10 seconds. Please make your point.
I request you to give. Madam, I say, because you will constantly heckling, and when I was speaking, you constantly interrupting. So you have now less time left.
Go ahead.
We have to expose that the true character of the Congress party. The true character of the Congress party we have seen for 9 years. Mr. Manohar Singh, how many times did he go to Northeast?
No,
and who has given you the right to say, to draw a distinction?
He was on a 3-day state visit to Manipur and Assam in 2011. The economic blockade.
There is no point. The moment the Manipur question comes into the discourse, if this is what is happening to the panel, we only wonder, even with the addition of Rahul Gandhi back in the parliament, whether this conundrum really goes away, has been done away with or not. That is a big question that we'd have to actually end up seeing whether on Monday is there a discussion at all on the Manipur issue, or for that matter the no confidence motion with the India alliance that has set it in motion. We'll have to actually see that, because right now there is no consensus even on this panel. We'll have to leave it at that. There is time for a break at the moment, but on the other side we are discussing the aftermath of the violence in Nuh in Haryana. The government has unleashed bulldozers on the accused. Can it stand the legal test is the question that we are asking. Stay tuned.
Consistently, Rahul Gandhi's lawyers have made the point that he never actually said anything against any community. He was talking specifically in the context of Lalit Modi and Nirav Modi, both of whom do not belong to the OBC community. And second, the punishment given out to him is in far excess of the so-called crime. If you remember the last hearing which took place in Supreme Court, Rahul Gandhi through his lawyers had clearly made the point, I am not going to be apologizing because I have not said or done anything wrong. What does it really mean? In case the conviction is scratched, he could be reinstated as a member of parliament. So far, no by-elections have been declared from his constituency of Wayanad, and therefore his political future hinges on this. In case his conviction is not scratched, then he can no longer contest elections for at least 6 years, which means at least for 6 years he doesn't enter parliament, and that will always be like a sword hanging over his political future.
Also, Pallavi, the Supreme Court had earlier made a remark that why was a maximum sentence in this particular case was given, because defamation really attracts a 2-year of maximum sentence, and that was slapped to Rahul Gandhi. All of that is being considered today. Of course, like you're mentioning, this is a big attempt and a big day for Rahul Gandhi. It's practically going to be defining his political future, and that there are constant deliberations that are coming out of the court. And from what our colleague Ananya has been reporting, what can we expect today?
So there's more information which is coming in, and this is okay, Supreme Court stays the conviction of Rahul Gandhi. That's the big news which is coming in. Ananya Bhatnagar has just got this news for us.
This is a big breaking news, yes.
A huge relief for Rahul Gandhi.
Alright, so we will just put this out for our viewers. Supreme Court has stayed the conviction of Rahul Gandhi. It's a big relief for Rahul Gandhi in the Modi surname defamation case is concerned. What has happened is the Supreme Court has decided to stay the conviction of Rahul Gandhi. So that disqualification from the parliament also now can be taken away, and there you have it. The maximum sentence was given by a Surat court, which is now being stayed by the apex court of the country. Supreme Court there staying the conviction of Rahul Gandhi. Big relief for the Congress leader. Remember, this afternoon is when the Supreme Court had started hearing the Rahul Gandhi case, where it was challenging the Gujarat High Court's verdict that declined to put a hold on his conviction in the defamation case over the Modi surname remark. Earlier this year, Rahul Gandhi was disqualified as an MP for his comments that were linked to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Remember, he had made those comments while he was in Gujarat 2 years ago, in 2019 in fact, and that defamation case was filed from I believe in Bihar, and that's where in Gujarat, and that's how the case really reached the Surat courts. And after
initially onwards that this is the maximum punishment to disqualify Rahul Gandhi from the Lok Sabha. Entire episode was started when Rahul Gandhi speak about Adani-Modi relations in the parliament. Now, Supreme Court also, I think, in the interim judgment, granting stay, conviction stay, they also telling that this maximum punishment is actually something to disqualify.
Are you
also
happy with that order, sir?
Definitely, you know that we are believing the legal procedure of this higher system. What we got from Gujarat, this is totally a different verdict.
सर सुप्रीम कोर्ट की ओर से आज जो राहत मिली है राहुल गांधी को, लंबे समय से कांग्रेस पार्टी मांग कर रही थी, क्या कहना है सर आज जो ये वर्डिक्ट आया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट का?
We will, our spokesperson will give details. Don't worry. First reaction is already we are welcoming this decision of stay of conviction.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, so that was the first reaction from
My colleague Ananya is now joining us live from outside the court premises. Ananya, there's a big piece of news for Rahul Gandhi and the supporters of Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party. Next step is that he's going to be reinstated in the parliament. But right for now, the apex court staying that conviction of Rahul Gandhi that was held by all the other courts, the Gujarat High Court and before that the Surat Court. Just take us through all of that that has happened inside the apex court today.
Well, definitely the Supreme Court had heard this matter for a long time today, and in fact for almost half the pre-lunch session. And very, very clearly now Rahul Gandhi has been granted that particular relief that he had been waiting for since court to court. This was his third appeal, if you remember. First it was rejected by the Gujarat Sessions Court and then by the High Court itself. And in fact the District Court had also refused to stay his conviction in that particular case, though a suspension of sentence was granted. But now finally that relief comes in for the former Congress president. Now what does it mean for Rahul Gandhi? Number one is that he can go back to the Lok Sabha Secretariat and say that, you know, since my conviction has now been stayed in this particular case, please reinstate me as a member of the parliament. The people of Wayanad might be really happy because, you know, he was representing the people of Wayanad, and the voice of Wayanad would be back in the parliament is what is the view, in the general public. And also, very, very importantly, you know, Rahul Gandhi can now fight the 2024 elections. Very, very clearly, this is a big relief, a huge relief that Rahul Gandhi has been, you know, waiting for since the last few days. Though he had, on the political spectrum, he had used this opportunity to, you know, say, and in fact his Twitter bio also used to say that he was a disqualified MP.
Welcome back. You're watching Viewpoint with me, Griha. The Haryana government last evening raised shanties of immigrants living in the Tauru area, which is 20 kilometers away from the violence-hit Nuh. This was apparently done as action against encroaching on government land. Although the Chief Minister of the state, Mr. Manohar Khattar, did indicate 2 days back that the bulldozer action will be taken in Haryana on the same lines of Yogi Adityanath's Uttar Pradesh. Thereby, this move is being seen as an action against the alleged rioters, as both the district administration and the Chief Minister had earlier alleged that the immigrants were the ones who were involved in the clashes. Meanwhile, there was also an attempt to vandalize 2 mosques in the Tauru area late evening on Wednesday, and owing to the communal tensions, Friday prayers were not offered in both Nuh and Gurugram. The mosques this week were empty, with the religious leaders appealing to the people to pray from their houses. The new superintendent of police, Varun Singla, who was on a pre-approved leave when the clashes broke out, has also been transferred. Now remember, this indeed has been an unprecedented turn of events, with as many as 176 arrests that have been made and over 90 detentions in the state that have been taken so far. 7 first information reports for incendiary social media posts have been filed, and about 2,300 videos are being examined for posting inflammatory content on the day of the clashes. But what came in first were the bulldozers. And somehow, we can't look at them in exclusivity. So what is it to become of it? Should we see this as another attempt to legitimize the bulldozer and pass it off as a model of justice by another one of the BJP-ruled states?
देखिए ऐसा है कि वो जो अवैध संपत्तियां हैं जो कि किसी HSBT की लैंड पर कब्जा था, उसके ऊपर ही कार्रवाई की गई थी। निश्चित तौर पर जो है सरकार इसके लिए सख्त कार्रवाई कर रही है।
नहीं, जहाँ पर आवश्यकता होगी हम बुलडोजर भी चलाएंगे, और हमने हरियाणा में एक्ट पास किया हुआ है कि अगर दंगों के दौरान कोई नुकसान हो जाए तो उसकी भरपाई उसी से करवाई जाती है।
अगर एक दिन का मोहलत देता तो हम फिर भी हमारा घर का जो सामान था वो भी निकल पाता।
पहले तो नहीं बोला था, 1-2 दिन तो पहले बोल देता तो बात अलग था। बिल्कुल आया और
Let me take this across to my guests who join us this evening. Meeta Chakraborty of the Congress Party is with us. Alok Watts, who is a political analyst, is with us. We're waiting for a member of the VHP to join us as well. And also with us is Shashikant, who is a former DGP of Punjab. Mr. Watts, let me actually begin with you, since you do lean towards the Bharatiya Janata Party. It's the BJP government in the state. The fact that it has been said that the bulldozer action is going to be taken on the alleged rioters, can we safely say that it has been established by now who the rioters are?
Let me tell you one thing, that there was initially a slackness by the local police there. Thereafter, there have been stringent measures taken to control the situation. More than 94 FIRs have been lodged. 116 people have been arrested and 96 are being integrated. Paramilitary forces have taken over this area and not a single incident has happened ever since the Chief Minister has taken things into his stride. And everything is returning to normalcy. According to me, this was a sabotage done by nefarious forces who want to destabilize the country, who want riots to take place between the Hindu and Muslim. And all this exercise is being done by the internal forces as well as the forces from abroad, various countries, which are not able to digest the rapid growth of India. At present, 5th largest economy in the world, and as predicted by IMF in its recent report, by 2027, certainly under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we will be the 3rd largest economy in the world.
No, what I'm asking you, Alok Watts, is why the bulldozer action, why the hastening of grazing houses with the bulldozer? Why not wait for the inquiry to actually complete and the entire aspect to come to light first?
I could not hear your name. Could you please repeat?
I'm Griha, sir. I'm Griha, and I'm wanting to understand why the bulldozers have been pressed into service first.
Bulldozers have been put in operation against those where the prima facie it has been proved that they were involved in this whole episode of destabilization.
And that's what I'm asking you, sir. Have they been established? Has that entire aspect been established? Because the inquiry is still underway.
No, certainly, yes, we are not above the law.
No, nobody is saying that.
Once we go bulldozing somebody, we have ample proof to prove in the court that he was the culprit.
Okay. So essentially, if I have got this correctly, Mr. Watts, you are saying that this entire bulldozer action was done on the houses of immigrants or people who were allegedly involved in the rioting. It was nothing to do with government encroached land. Have I heard that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
There could have been instances once the inquiry goes. Once you go fishing for fish, you always get crabs also, sometimes snakes also.
No, we're not talking about fish and crabs here. We're talking about living, breathing individuals whose houses have been in fact grazed to the ground because bulldozers have been pressed into service. Mr. Shashikant, I would want to bring you in here.
Madam,
how legitimate, you have only been speaking, sir. Let me actually bring in other speakers. Mr. Shashikant, how legitimate is this action, this bulldozer action, which has been very, very importantly being passed as a model of justice in the country, especially in the BJP ruled states? How important and how legitimate and how reasonable was their interference here in this current case in a state which has already been so, raked with communal violence for the past 3-4 days?
Look, ma'am, I'm going to talk as a former police officer. I don't belong to any political party, BJP or this thing or that. As a police officer, I think that I've always believed in deterrence and deterrence of the strictest possible order. But here the question is slightly different. it's been claimed that overnight, when the violence is there, police is not able to go to various areas, how everybody has been identified. I'm sure that the police doesn't have a magic wand to identify these persons, number one. And secondly, if these persons were there, right now they are saying it's immigrants. Maybe certain non-immigrants had also indulged in this kind of act. I think the proper thing should have been to go in for a proper investigation. And then as per the law, whatever the law demands, this should have been done. This is an action which is, I think, is certainly going to raise certain eyebrows, not only here in the country, but even internationally. I personally think that the government should have shown some restraint, identify the persons properly, and then whatever action comes up legally should have been taken. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Shiraj Nair of the VHP is also now with us. Mr. Nair, let me bring you in here. Alok Watts, who's also part of this panel, was just mentioning that this entire bulldozer action has got nothing to do with grazing illegal settlements that have taken up, that have come about in an area which is just 20 kilometers away from the violence-affected Nuh. First of all, do you agree with that statement? Is that what it is? It is an attempt to just rein in on the people allegedly identified as culprits of the riots?
So this is like interfering with the law enforcing agencies. The law enforcing agencies in Haryana, they are quite capable. Maybe there might be a slight intelligence failure in the recent riots which took place. But then now they have pulled up their socks, so they know it very well where they are, what action they are taking in. So we have to allow the police forces to take action according to their investigations. We should not comment. This is a little irresponsible comment. And we are absolute with the Haryana government for the action they are taking.
No, but the Haryana government, when you talk about the government, let's talk about the Chief Minister and also the State Home Minister. They have come on record and they have said that very soon, and this is just a statement made 2 days back, one by Mr. Vij has been made early this morning, where they have mentioned that the bulldozers would be very soon pressed into action. Why this need for passing the bulldozer as a form of justice is my question, sir.
Well, what is wrong in it? Say in UP it has been a very successful, to crush the criminal elements, in UP it has been a successful formula, and in MP also we saw. So this is a very much needed thing, and the government has all the right to demolish all the illegal settlements, illegal construction, because these are all
illegal. Are you saying that this was a grazing of illegal structures, or are you saying this was raining in on the rioters? There are two different things, sir. And when it is about grazing illegal structures, why was no intimation given in to the people who were staying there? That is also an important follow-up question, sir.
If they are raising the structure of the rioters, that also is right. We are absolutely with the government. It is absolutely justified. It is much required, because we have to ensure the government has to teach a lesson to this kind of rioters, where how can these people throw stones, kill innocent people, attack women, children and the elderly people. So basically, there has to be a lesson which has to be taught to this criminals.
Shiraz Nair,
this is absolutely justified.
So basically, Shiraz Nair, you have basically identified who these rioters are. They only come from one community, and you're essentially saying the model of justice in this democracy like India has to be eye for an eye. And you are saying it's absolutely correct that the bulldozers should in fact graze the structures of the people associated allegedly. I'm still using the word, because the inquiry is still underway.
See, America is considered as one of the civilized society. Madam, America is considered, USA is considered as one of the civilized society. What they did to Osama bin Laden? They went to Abbottabad, killed him and dumped in the sea. Okay. There has to, in certain cases, this kind of justice is required. These people, these rioters, these jihadi elements have
so basically, Mr. Shiraz Nair, there will be bulldozers that will graze the houses of the VHP or Bajrang Dal members who had swords in their hands, or the people who were responsible for killing the Maulana in that mosque near Gurgaon in Sona. Is that also going to be happening?
Madam, this was a one-sided attack.
No. Answer this question. Will you negate the fact that the Maulana died or not? Will you negate the fact that the Maulana also was killed or not?
Madam, every action has a reaction. Somebody is going to react, right? 5 to 6 people, 2
Can I
innocent
come in?
policemen, home guards were killed.
All right.
And another 3 youths were killed.
Meeta
brutally,
Chakraborty, by that logic,
barbarically
sir,
murdered.
by that
So some
logic, sir,
reaction
what
is
we
bound
are
to
getting
happen.
to know from Nuh is also a retaliation of the 2,300 videos which the police is still looking at, which had inflammatory comments that were put on social media and nothing was done about it by the BJP government in the state and the centre. Meeta Chakraborty, bulldozer as a model of justice in a country democratic as India. How do you respond?
Good evening to all your viewers. And firstly, India is not a banana republic. There's a court of law. There's an investigation process. And I'm amazed at the kind of logic that is being put forward here that, it's all right to have bulldozers within a couple of days of a incident happening. And a complete disconnect. Some people are saying that they were illegal settlements that were being moved down. Even in that case, no prior intimation was given, no process being followed. And some people are saying that we kind of thought that these are rioters and these immigrants are responsible for the violence, and hence this bulldozer politics is being applied for. Now, this is not a banana republic. We claim that India is the largest democracy of the world. We take pride in India. What kind of example are we setting? What kind of news are we creating in the international forum? And it's amazing that people are actually justifying it. By all means, doesn't matter which community the person comes from. He can be a Hindu, he can be a Muslim, he can be a Christian, he can be an atheist. If someone is responsible for an act of violence, please do arrest him, put him behind the bar, hang him if you want to. But let there be proper investigation, let there be rule of law, there is a court. The court decides on the quantum of punishment depending on what has happened. The government is not the court. The government is not the judiciary. The government, the police forces are only responsible for carrying out the investigation, arresting the people and producing those people in front of the court. Let the court state what the quantum of punishment will be. What kind of democracy are we building here? And I'm amazed that there's a section of people who actually try to justify this kind of bulldozer politics. This has to end, period. I mean, once again, first of all, it shows a complete failure of the law and order situation in Haryana, a complete failure of their intelligence system. There are reports which suggest that the inspector had information that there would be attacks on a procession about a week before, and no actions were taken. This violence is mindless. Violence could have been avoided. I do not know how the cybercrime department is operating in the state of Haryana. They did not act on social media posts that had gone viral. So, first of all, no proactive steps taken. And once the riot has taken place, you are just kind of going and you cannot just justify and villainize a whole community. You have to identify people who are responsible from both sides of the divide.
Now, Alok Vats, coming back to you, the point that you were earlier making, Alok Vats, the point that you were earlier making, all right, Meeta. Mr. Vats, the point that you were earlier making has been negated by a member of the VHP, has been your alliance partner. I want to understand that this clarity, or in fact, how did it come into the discourse that these are illegal settlers whose houses we are grazing? If it's illegal, there was no intimation that was given. And on the other hand, you in fact have given this statement which is very akin to what Mr. Anil Vij or Mr. Khattar has also said, that there might be bulldozer action for against the rioters. What happens to the people who are in their family? What happens to their houses? How is that a justified model of justice when it is not even seen that legal scrutiny at all, and this is not the way how law works in the country?
Let me tell you one thing. There have been several instances of bulldozer in UP and also in Madhya Pradesh. Has a single restriction been passed against the government? They know what they are doing. They know they are answerable. But people in this country now only understand the language of strictness.
Okay.
Understand the language of bulldozing.
So, you're going by your logic, Mr. Vats. There should not be any courts, there should not be any legality, there should not be any police.
No, this is not done. You are interrupting me in between. I said for people who are indulging in nefarious anti-social activity. It is not for the common man.
Okay. Mr. Shashikant.
Only those who are under the shadow, proven shadow of the law.
And
that's what my question is,
members
sir.
as well. So even
Mr.
if
Mr. Vats,
even
it's not proven.
Even a person, even say if,
the inquiry
if my
is still
son has done
underway.
something wrong, as a mother, am I supposed to also?
Mr. Shashikant, let me ask a question of Mr. Shashikant. Mr. Shashikant has been a law enforcer himself. Mr. Shashikant, where do you see this going? This argument that's been made on both sides.
Look, there are two aspects involved. One is strictly a legal thing, as per the law. We all believe in rule of law. Whatever action is to be taken anywhere in the country, it has to be strictly as per the Constitution, as per the IPC and other provisions.
Absolutely, and we understand that, sir. Mr. Shashikant, let me actually come in here, because the argument that has been made against it is that, look at what is happening in Madhya Pradesh, look at what has happened in UP, nothing was done about it, or there was no scrutiny that happened even after the bulldozer quote-unquote justice model was in fact meted out there to the mafia or otherwise. So why not here in Haryana?
Look,
what would you say to that logic, sir?
If they're talking about UP and all other places, somehow or the other, fortunately or unfortunately, we have a system here. The person has to, either the court can take suo motu notice of a particular thing, and in case the court doesn't take a suo motu notice of a particular thing, then the court of law has to be approached. Here in this case, I think both the aspects are involved. Number one, human rights. There must have been kids also who have been uprooted. What about the human right violation? And even it was an encroached land, then the procedure says that there should be some notice has to be given to them. And after notice, they have to take out they have to act as per the provisions. And I don't believe, I have been in police service for almost 4 decades. I don't think that any police can really identify such kind of hoodlums overnight.
Absolutely.
They don't have
and we do feel still, even though this bulldozer model of justice has been propagated in various BJP ruled states, we just hope that entire idea of justice does not see a sea change, at least in a democracy like India. We leave it at that. I'll thank all my guests on that note. With that, it's a wrap from my side on Viewpoint. My colleague Toya is up next with Plain Speak.
Good evening. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Toya Singh. This is the show where we try to look at all of the day's stories through just the lens of facts. For our first story, we're focusing on the Supreme Court's order on Rahul Gandhi that came in just a few hours ago. This was a pronouncement that the Congress has hailed as historic, and one that had Congress offices across the country jubilant in celebration. Back in 2019, Gandhi made a statement at a political